Alright everybody, it's Jay, and welcome to Retro Time. And in this video today, I just wanted to talk about my top 5 favorite Zelda games in the Zelda franchise. So let's get into it. This one here was a little bit tough for me because I like both Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, so I'll put them both in this section because they're kind of like a story that goes together, sort of like Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. It has that feeling to it where you'll do one thing in the other game and it'll transfer stuff over to the other. There's minor things they do with that, but it still does that. Now, Breath of the Wild was really, really good for this time period, okay? And what I mean for this time period, for the Nintendo Switch and the Wii U, it's such a great game. I love the big aspect of the open world. There's more to do in this game, more to discover, more to explore. Um, and also like with Tears of the Kingdom, also there was a lot more to do in that game too, and a lot more to explore. So that's why I put these games in number 5. Um, and also like just it being a big open world in both of them, one even bigger than the other. That is also why they sit at number 5. Now let's get into number 4. Alright, so number 4 is The Legend of Zelda, A Link Between Worlds. And there's a reason this game really, really sticks out to me. And it's because it was a Zelda game on the go that was in 3D style, and it had that top-down view, which is also incredible. To me, this had some very great visuals, very great graphics. The story sets well with me. And there was a move you can do inside of this game that was really cool as well, which led you to be, if you look right here on the screen, I'm circling it, you can be inside the wall, and you can go along the wall that way. My favorite features in that game. But this game right here will set at number 4 for me no matter what. I wish I had a 3DS so I could go back and play this, and this would be the defining factor as to why I would get the 3DS, because this game here, I love this game. This game was one of my favorites. In fact, I had one out and got in the 3DS at the time where you flip it open, and it had this parallel Triforce on it. So that is why I'm a real big fan of A Link Between Worlds. It sits at number 4 for me. So now, if you were watching my video yesterday, I put up about how Zelda means a lot to me. The Zelda game franchise means a lot to me. It definitely does. This game right here, Legend of Zelda's Majora's Mask, is number 3 for me. And there are a lot of reasons this game is number 3. There are so many cool factors to this game. A lot of people don't like the process of the time looping around and you having to do everything over and over again in a certain time frame. But to me, that's what pushed the challenge of the game. So there, for like a good 30 tries, I was actually in a boss fight and I could not win. And the time frame really, really made it difficult for me to win. And this game was really, really a challenge, and I think that's why it sticks out to me the most, because this is the only Legend of Zelda game I know that gives you that challenge of the main story, and then you gotta do it within a certain time frame, which doesn't even give you enough time to go and explore, but it's pushing you to do things in a timely manner that really, really set the bar high for a video game. Most video games would never done this, but Majora's Mask, the people who made Majora's Mask found a way to do it, and that's why this will always sit at number 3 for me, because even after I didn't finish it the first time, I went back later on in life, and I did finish it, and I finished it, like, as a emulator recently, and it was an enjoyable experience, very, very fun, very, very challenging, and my favorite feature about this game was the getting the masks and turning into the creatures within the game, which is also really cool. And then the storyline is just very, very dark for what it is. And there's a whole theory behind it, which my theory video got lost, so I might end up going back to make it again. But yeah, when you sit there and you look at it, for me, this game was just something else, and it was incredible. in a way, in ways, because it just pushed the boundary for pushed the bar for video gaming is what I want to say. So Majora's Mask sets at number 3 for all those reasons and probably more. But let's get into number 2. Alrighty, so The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is number 2 for me. So I'll break down a little bit of the stuff and explain why it will always be number 2 for me. This game here was my first ever open world style of game. Now that it wasn't exactly called an open world game, but we all know that this was considered as a mini open world game, which when you sit there and look at it, you had all the freedom to explore. You didn't have to go in a certain direction until you hit the dungeons. And well, you had to go in a certain direction, but the direction led the world to being an open world, because after you got into the dungeons and opened up everything, you could actually go back and explore everything. And I spent hours on end playing this. I spent a lot of time playing this. In fact, growing up as a younger guy, around the time this was out, my first experience with this was going into the Deku Tree and getting stuck in like one of the very first like parts of it, and it just led me to being like wanting more. And I asked a friend, I was like, "How do you get through that first door?" That has to, and he explained to me the eye above. You slingshot it and you hit it in the eye. It closes the eye. So that to me was a very memorable point. The first boss was cool as heck. One of the coolest bosses I've ever seen, actually, in my entire life. I haven't seen anything else yet in Legend of Zelda lore that remains as cool as that boss, the way they made him. For some reason, there was just something that really stuck out about him. And on top of it, the stepping out on the Hyrule field, the big open world, that big plant creature chasing after you. There's a lot I remember about this game. This game, for me, will always sit at number 2. And it might change spots from time to time, just because, like, it depends on how I feel during the day. But it's always going to remain at number 1 or number 2, because this was my first real Zelda experience, and it will never be forgotten. So this is always going to be number 2 or number 1 for me. So let's get into the next one. And my top 1, my very top Zelda game, is this: Legend of Zelda, the Twilight Princess. So, there was a lot of great stuff about this game. This one visually pushed Zelda to a whole new level. So visually, it looks amazing. It still looks amazing to this day, in my opinion. It really set the boundary for what Zelda games were at the time. It was like taking Ocarina of Time and just pushing the boundary with it, turning it into another open world style game. This one was a lot bigger than the original Hyrule, but you could see the glimpses of Hyrule within everything all over again. And it was just amazing to see. The way they put this together was, to me, probably one of Zelda's masterpieces. And it will always remain that for me. Now, the story-wise were really awesome too. You had like 2 different stories going on all at once, but they all collided together at the end. This was the first game that I got to see Zelda actually fight, which was awesome. That's what made Zelda hot in this game. So yeah, this Zelda right here is hot. The idea of turning into the wolf, that was fun. I really liked that feature. That was pretty awesome. And then the way you played, like, the music, instead of using the ocarina, you used the wolf howling technique, which was really cool as well. So the game alone did a lot more than most Zelda games did around the time. So, and you know, there were so many great temples in this that I had a lot of fun with it too. So, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, sorry. Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is always going to be number 1 or number 2 for me again. Today it just ended up in a number 1 spot because I felt like that's where I wanted it to be. So, yep, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is number 1 for me. Alright, so there you have it. Some of my Legend of Zelda favorites right here. I don't know. Maybe later on I'll bring you a top 10 list, but I know Wind Waker didn't end up on this list for me. I'm not an avid Wind Waker fan. I did like Wind Waker. I like the story of it. I like what it meant. I still gotta play through it again. There's a couple games that I still gotta go back and play through. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play them all, and at some point I'd like to sit down and at least try to play them all. But the majority of the games took place after the Nintendo 64 era for me. That's why all these games on my selection list are from Nintendo 64 and beyond. There's also a factor of nostalgia behind these for me, but I'm not going to go into that here. That video from yesterday will explain a lot about it for me. But there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I've been doing a lot of Zelda content lately, but I'm trying to get those views, and I know Zelda for me usually works as a niche to get the views in. So if you like what you saw here, guys, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And also, I'll be bringing more content like this. Until then, guys, take it easy and keep gaming, gamers.